When I tell family and friends that I review movies, they often ask how that works, and if I watch the movie more than once. The answer is I don't, but the most common response to that is you have to watch it more than once to just enjoy it. For a majority of movies, studying their presentation is part of my enjoyment, and very few films have been so engaging that I have forgotten to analyze the shit out of what the film is putting forward. Se7en is one of those few. David Fincher's first film is the most engaging thriller I have ever seen and is one of the best stories ever put to screen. What the plot of Se7en does well is balance the focus between setup for future events, the investigation, and the interaction between Detective Mills and Somerset. Se7en has a fantastic understanding not only of its characters but its world, the unnamed city more commonly referred to as this place by those that live there. From the very beginning of the film, focus is placed on how the city has affected Detective Somerset. The opening scene is very calm and collected, and the way the film cuts to a homicide crime scene without hesitation says a lot about how much Somerset is seen. Much the same as making coffee is part of the daily routine, gruesome dead bodies are too. I could see this attitude manifest itself in almost every action that Somerset makes. He never does anything unnecessarily. He never swears, never speaks out of line, he only says what needs to be said. He's observational. The best thing about this level of character depth and consistency is not that it simply exists in the film, but that his personality is something that exists in every aspect of what he does. The film doesn't go out of its way to show specific aspects of Somerset, rather they already exist in everything that he does on a daily basis. The metronome he uses to sleep is just as indicative of his character as his conversations with the captain of police. In complete contrast, Detective Mills is very outspoken. He has the same attitude towards his job as I would expect someone who's seen too many movies does. He speaks out loud to process his thoughts, and while it's clear he's a well-experienced detective, his behavior is out of line with everyone else's. It seems that everyone else is more hardened and deadpan than Mills. He isn't well adjusted enough to the brutality of the city of Se7en. And although he has no problem analysing gruesome crime scenes, his commentary and body language still show that he hasn't been as emotionally broken down by the crimes that he's seen elsewhere. While there is a conversation between Mills and Somerset that discusses the rampant crime of the city, there is very little discussion or exposition that describes the impact that the homicides in the city have on its inhabitants. While both Mills and Somerset could be considered to be fairly stereotypical characters, and I would disagree, but that's not the point, I think the nuance in their behaviour is brilliant, and it gave me a lot more room for engagement and investment in their characters. Both Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt deliver stellar performances, but neither of them could steal the scene back after Kevin Spacey makes an appearance. It is almost universally considered that John Doe makes the last 30 minutes of Se7en absolutely riveting. Spacey's John Doe is the antagonist of Se7en, and he makes a fairly late appearance in the film, which I think is definitely to the film's aid. In the time leading up to Spacey's appearance, I felt like I was making my own assumptions about the character. His behaviour, his mannerisms, his thought processes. The murders themselves are almost like little snippets of his character, little pieces that showcase the inner workings of his head. With no one to connect the meticulous plan to, my mind wandered, created its own possibilities. Somerset and Mills' conversations about John Doe further this, saying things like, if this guy were the devil, I mean Satan himself, maybe that would live up to our expectations. It makes it all the more impactful that John, while certainly unnerving and off-putting, is an everyday person. Leaving the expectation to build was a decision that bolstered the finale infinitely. The city of Se7en is just as well realized as the characters that inhabit it, and I find that incredibly praiseworthy. The aesthetic and atmosphere of the city isn't just a design feature, it was incorporated into the film's presentation. The lack of establishing shots gave very little away about where each event in the film takes place, and that was really unnerving to me. Se7en makes every scene more claustrophobic by giving very little away about how things are laid out. We go from interior to interior with nothing to separate them except assumption. To me, that's a brilliant way to connect and bring closer the different areas of a city. It's impossible to say that the crimes in Se7en are happening in a different part of a city because I have no idea where the crimes actually take place. They could be next to the police HQ or they could be 10 blocks down the road. The only thing that remains constant throughout each location is people and rain. In a city like this one, especially given the way people talk about it, it's hard to dismiss any one pedestrian as innocent. Everything and everyone feels tainted, and while the rain may feel cliché to some, I felt that it was really uncomfortable. Rain obscures things and makes it difficult to make out specific details in people and things, so being outside in the rain made what little time the film spent in the exterior scenes very uncomfortable and unsettling. The vagueness and consistency of the city meant that the change in location for the final half hour had a little extra punch. The atmosphere that Se7en creates with its production design is haunting and unsettling, and the visuals perfectly capture the city and the people, and give it the aesthetic that I just described. The soundscape that accompanies those visuals is also incredibly well done, save for like 2 songs. The screechy kind of string tones that play very quietly underneath scenes are very, very tense. But on occasion, I feel that the brass cuts through it too heavily and breaks the tone set by the string notes. It's truly the only problem that I have with Se7en. So having said that, I can't give Se7en a 10 as much as I would like to. Everything else about the film is truly brilliant, and it's a damn shame that I'm trying to be objective about a subjective material, so I kind of have to say...
Se7en? 9 out of 10.